Click the button.
Oh my God,
okay,
people are here now.
People can see us and they can hear us.
Oh my God.
I don't need this over here.
I can't believe it, Sean.
People are here, and I sometimes wonder. They just
sometimes wonder why come people come and listen to the show.
I obviously appreciate it. Kinda. I mean, yeah, like we're just a bunch of yahoos, bunch of dumb idiots, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we talk about Xbox, but obviously Xbox is dead. Xbox is a monopoly that doesn't have any games, Ryan.
I mean, I also heard a rumor from Mr. Badbit yesterday that Nintendo is also dead.
Oh, Nintendo also dead. Yeah.
The only one that's not dead is PlayStation.
Yeah.
That's the way we look at it.
Wow.
They're all dead.
They're all dead. Exactly. Why do we even do this? It's time to move on to books. It's time to do books. Everything is dead.
I mean, we're doing that this weekend. So I mean,
I actually have to. I'm gonna reread them, books 1 and 2, because it's been a while.
Yeah, I'm actually reading them on Friday because then I'm gonna jot down all the notes, and then I'll actually have a plan ready to go for tomorrow for next week. So, dude,
am I going to see you in Toronto? Is that going to be a thing? Like, are you coming?
See me. I'm just not 100% confirmed on the whole weekend.
Okay.
But I will at very least, Sean, I will be at FanFest with us.
You will? Okay, good. Awesome. Oh, that's awesome.
FanFest for sure. I just don't know about like the rest of the weekend kind of thing. That's still out in the air.
Xbox is a monopoly that doesn't have games. Let's talk about it.
I mean, it's kind of.
We need a T-shirt. That's our new shirt.
What's the new shirt?
Xbox is a monopoly that doesn't have games. We should draw Phil Spencer as the Monopoly Man with like his little monocle.
Yeah. But then he's got like his pockets, like his hands in his pockets, or he's pulling his pockets out because like he has no money, but he has no games in his pocket.
Free parking has a Series X on top of it. Yes, it was stained. I do that just automatically. I don't even really think about it.
Yep. That was a big thing in the 90s, Sean.
Early 2000s. Yeah, that was high school for me. Mm-hmm.
Well, I was late high school for me because I would think I was in grade 12 or 13.
13.
Well, in Ontario, Sean, basically up until 2004, in order to go to university, you had to take grade 13, which was also known as OAC, is what they called it. And essentially, like everyone who wanted to go to university had to take, a 13th year of high school.
Wow.
So I did that thinking I was going to go to university, and then, spoiler alert.
That's a double waste.
Sean.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I mean, are you ready? Are you right?
I'm ready whenever you are ready. Good sir.
I want to say hi to Marcus and Kevin and Court, and that's it.
That's it.
I want to say hi to you guys.
Got them all.
Okay. Well, top story of the day is that game getting delayed. Those games getting delayed. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got that. We got Game Pass games. We also got Fall Guys coming to Xbox.
The title of the show. What is the title of the show? I don't even know. Kevin's
also, we got so many people asking about your coffee as well. I didn't put them on the sheet, but
people are asking about my coffee.
No. They were asking about
the questions.
Like, the question post. Like half the questions on the question post were about your coffee.
Oh, I have a story about coffee that I will tell you about, Ryan.
I'm very excited about it.
I'm sure you are. Okay, here we go. The title of the show still says Microsoft Office joins Halo.
Let me fix that.
Is that?
I got
it. Something wrong? Okay.
No. I'll fix that.
All right. Let's do it.
Sometimes YouTube doesn't save changes, especially with thumbnails, but titles too.
All good. Should I do the thing? Starfield got delayed. Time to panic.
Perfect. Already updated. We're good to go. So you are ready to yell at us whenever you feel like yelling at us, John.
Hey, everyone, it's me, Sean Capri. I'm glad you're here because you're listening to the most horse-powerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Ryan Turford. He's the weatherman on the moose, and on our journey today, Starfield got moved to next year. So everybody panicked and jump on into the Xbox Drive. Oh!
No power greater than X.
Feeling good, Ryan Turford. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I mean, well, I wish I could say I'm a little bit better, Sean, but I mean, I'm looking at your camera and I'm just like,
yes,
you got not
yes.
one, but two Oiler jerseys going here. Like, it's too much. It's too much.
It is too much for the Edmonton Oilers are too much for the Calgary Flames to handle, Ryan. This is happening. We are fighting for the next best of 7 games. Edmonton Oilers versus the Calgary Flames. If you have no idea what we're talking about, NHL, it's hockey. We're Canadian. What else do you want from us other than for Ryan and anybody else who's jumping on this flamey bandwagon to get the heck off of it, man? You guys are in for a hurting Marcus O'Neill, an Edmontonian. He lives in Edmonton. He's cheering for the Flames. The ultimate Cardinal sin.
Because he knows what's up, Sean. He knows
He obviously knows nothing. We'll see. We will see, Ryan.
Ready. I'm ready for the Calgary Flames to run wild over the Edmonton Oilers tonight. It's going to be amazing. So tonight's game 1. I mean, assuming, the Calgary Flames don't just sweep the Oilers in 4 over the next week, but we'll probably be talking about it on next week's show. But even so, even if a sweep does happen, I will be sure to gloat in Sean's face about how the Calgary Flames just.
Do you want to bet? Do you want to bet, Ryan? You want to put a little something on it?
I don't like betting. No. Sean.
What about if the Edmonton Oilers win, then I get to pick a game for you to play, and you have to play it. And if the Flames win, then you pick a game for me to play.
Okay, I can
what do you think about that?
Really bad games for you to play, Sean.
There you go. On stream. We have to do it on stream on the Carpool Gaming. So it's kind of like for charity, basically. Like we're doing it for the people, for the enjoyment of others.
Well, I mean, there's also the selfish element of we're kind of doing it for content too. Sean.
No, total charitable. Absolutely.
Of course.
For the entertainment value. Okay, well, there it is. It's out there on the internet, Ryan.
It's official. We officially virtually shook hands like this, so. And it's official. So I can't wait for Sean to play. I got Balan Wonderworld on the shelf. Maybe I should send that to Sean.
Okay.
Sean plays Balan Wonderworld.
Pirates of the Caribbean on 360.
There's also Independence Day on PS1. Bubsy 3D. I've got some really bad games.
You really do. Yeah. So it should be interesting. And this is the thing. Like, I would love for people to weigh in on this. Like, depending on what side people pick. If you're on Ryan's side, you can help Ryan pick games for me. If you're on the right side, if you're on my side with the Edmonton Oilers, let me know what you guys think Ryan should be playing. Should be fun.
I also love Project X Talks is suggested in the chat, which is Sean has to play Monarch. Monarch is a game we talked about at length. It's like a 60-hour RPG. And it's not a good RPG either, and it's very hard.
We should set a limit. Like, I don't think that I want to make you beat a 60-hour game. Like, I don't know, like play like 10 hours of it or something like that, or whatever it is. Or
and that's the perfect length for Sean to play Balan Wonderworld because it's only 9 hours long.
You can say all the bad games you want to, Ryan. I've got nothing to worry about here.
I know, because you have nothing to worry about because you've already resigned yourself to playing bad games, Sean, because you're going to lose. So
interesting spin, Ryan. But this is fun. I mean, I'm the one out here with like an actual jersey, like. I've got the hats over here. I'm the actual fan out here. You're the fake fan.
I'm not gonna lie. I just moved, and all my jerseys are actually in storage at my mom's place.
Blah blah. You are you're making it. He says Calgary Flames all the way. And as I said on Twitter, and as my dad would say, more like the Calgary Lames, Ryan.
And on that note, we should probably clean the garage a little bit. So, folks at home, if you want to support the show, there's a number of ways to do that. Of course, if you're watching right here on the live stream over at youtube.com/carpoolgaming, don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And then ding, 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 ring that bell, hit the dingle dangle for all the notifications whenever, we go live, That's you want to hit that button. It's great.
I think the dingle dangle is only on your OnlyFans, Ryan. You leave the dingle dangle to the 18+ content, all right?
That's the last time I'll mention it. But Sean, also, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/carpoolgaming if you want early access to some content, but also some exclusive content going up over there. So check us out, patreon.com/carpoolgaming. Throw a little tip in the old tip jar, just like our 2 newest patrons, Sean. Kevin Ainsworth at the $3 level, and then Brendan Myers swinging in last night at the platinum producer level, $25 level, putting us close to 90 patrons, Sean.
Damn. Getting really close to that next goal. I got to actually check that out. Our next goal. What are we doing at the next one?
We're over 700. So I think we finally reached it. Thanks to Brendan Myers.
What were we doing? What is this? The gaming arguments, the nonsensical gaming,
a gaming argument.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So the first one, and this is not Xbox related, and to catch anybody up, we've been toying with this idea of, isn't it interesting to have these like critical but hopefully friendly conversations about like this game is better than this game, right? We've had these like stupid arguments on Twitter, and we all know Twitter's not the place for it. The place for those conversations is on podcasts. So we're going to have people from the community representing kind of like two sides of various arguments. Are you on The Last of Us Part 1 camp or The Last of Us Part 2 camp? Now, like, hash it out, and it'll be like celebrity deathmatch is basically what we're thinking here. So we have to stay at the $700 level for 3 months. This is going to be a pilot that's exclusive to $3 patrons and up. If we reach the $3 or the 3 month period, then it's for everybody, becomes another one of the podcasts that we do as part of Carpool Gaming. And I think we can do it. So we got to hold the line, man. We got to hold it here for 3 months. But thank you, Kevin and Brendan Myers. Brendan Myers has been supporting us forever. Last thing I want to say on this, because I know you want to jump to it. We've got a hard out at the top of the hour. Ryan, Kevin Ainsworth was my guest on We the Gamercast this week, and he became a patron live on the show. He did it like while I was chatting with him. Very, very cool. And I ruined his own surprise because I'm always watching the emails coming on. He's like, I wanted to surprise you. I'm like, I was notified by my watch.
Yeah, you probably got one again in the middle of the night last night too, because Brendan Myers, I think, joined it like 2 a.m. or something last night. So
sure did.
Like
sure did.
Late in the morning.
Yeah, man.
But last 2 things before we move on. We have a merch store, so if you want to check out our merch, including our Xbox Drive t-shirt, link is in the show notes or the description of this video on YouTube. And then last but not least, Sean, we announced this morning, or at least a couple days ago, on Monday, May 23rd, we will be doing a 5-hour live stream starting at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with multiple shows, including the first ever episode of the Geekouts, where Sean and I talk about Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the manga, essentially, as well as the Xbox Drive, the PlayStation Drive, and the Console War Room. So check us out.
What are we doing on those shows?
YouTube
What about talk about the Xbox Drive and the PlayStation Drive? What are we doing specifically? Do you remember?
We're
put you on the
doing
spot.
E3 predictions.
E3 predictions. I don't care if E3's
predictions.
canceled. I don't care. We're predicting the crap out of this thing, man. Yes, let's go.
And we're going to have some cool guests for those. So make sure to check us out on Monday. It's going to be a holiday here in Canada anyway. So what?
Yep.
You're going to go outside? Please.
Yeah,
It's hot
stay
outside.
inside.
You're going to stay inside. Watch some content with us and just come hang out. And then last thing we wanted to highlight, of course, the Backtrackers is the Carpool Gaming Video Game Book Club. The next game is Bugsnax, available on Game Pass. You can discuss the game with the community on Saturday this week, May 21st at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the Discord. If you're not part of the Discord yet, by the way, link is in the show notes as well. Well, without further ado, Sean, let's grab our 8 tracks, pop them in. It is time for the playlist, and I don't see that you played any games on the schedule, Sean. Did you play anything this week?
I want to surprise you, Ryan Turford. Also, I didn't look at the doc before we started it. So I did play a game. Thanks to my tournament bracket, I played Rise of the Tomb Raider. I haven't beaten it yet, but I am playing it. I'm a few hours into this thing. And I am so glad that I'm playing this game, Ryan. This game is amazing. It plays at 60 frames a second because I've got all the teraflops on this thing. And dude, I feel like Rise of the Tomb Raider, it almost represents like a last go at this style of game. I don't know if we can get this style of game anymore. It's not stupidly open world, like it's still very explorative, but very channeled in its direction and level design, kind of like Gears 5 actually. And I'm enjoying just how actually that it's constrained, that I don't have an entire Assassin's Creed world to go explore here, even though it does feel very Assassin's Creed-y. It's very much like Uncharted, of course. But I don't know if gamers accept that anymore. I'm curious to know your thoughts on that before I go any further. Like, is that sort of like the last version of this game? Is this the last kick of that can before we go, everything's got to have every RPG element and it's got to be 90 hours long and stuff? Like, this is still very contained, and I actually like it.
So just to throw it out there, this wasn't the last game because Shadow of the Tomb Raider was also like this as well.
But who cares about that one?
But we know a new Tomb Raider game is coming from Embracer Group after that acquisition. And I still think that because it's Crystal Dynamics doing the next one as well, I think Crystal Dynamics is probably going to stick with this formula.
I hope so.
I don't see them making it a full open world or anything like that. They might throw in some RPG elements, which I think I'm okay with.
Yep.
But I just don't. I personally like the more contained open worlds, like the smaller open worlds that are interconnected together versus large open worlds. Like, that's something I like. Like, even in MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV, what I like about that game in particular is that it's also not just this big open world either. Like it's smaller open worlds that are interconnected with each other, basically with different areas of the world itself. That's how Final Fantasy XIV works. So I like this style of open world versus just a giant open world. So I hope we see more of this, and I'm pretty sure, if I had to hazard a guess, the next Tomb Raider game will be like this as well.
I hope so.
Unreal Engine 5. I don't think they deviate from that.
What I'm trying to say is I don't know that, like, I don't want one over the other all the time. I just want variety, right? Like, I think we get too far into, like, I like this, so everything has to be like this. I hope that we can eventually have both, because actually, as we're talking about this, what I'm picturing is, like, the maps in Ocarina of Time. Or Skyward Sword, or some of those older Zelda games before we got into Breath of the Wild. It's like, and we used to make fun of those. It's like, why doesn't this be like more like Grand Theft Auto or gigantic open world stuff? I like that there can be both. And so I'm enjoying it. The game plays great. The shooting and everything is awesome. And Lara is amazing. The one thing I will say, though, is I'm having some technical difficulties with Quick Resume is not working all that well. The game will literally freeze up on me, and I'll have to like hard quit it and that sort of thing. The only other thing, though, is there is a betrayal in the game. There's a character that betrays Lara, and it's just like, I don't remember if that character's in the first Tomb Raider. And I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. I don't want to necessarily spoiler it, but it felt like unearned. It felt like, oh, this person totally backstabbed Lara. And I'm like, I don't know who the hell this person is. Like, I get through the storytelling that she's meaningful to Lara, but like, yeah, it didn't seem like it was that big a deal.
No, they introduced that character to that game, and everything you know about it is from that game. They do show her in flashbacks, which is like
exactly
where they want you to kind of piece together that there was a relationship between them, in the past.
Right.
And they actually, Crystal Dynamics actually did something similar in Tomb Raider Legend as well, where like the main bad guy in that game was like one of Laura's best friends, but that game was the first time they ever introduced that character to you.
Totally. Yeah, it's like a little quick,
some
pretty tropey kind of cliche kind of stuff there. Like even the big bad in it is this organization called Trinity, and it's like, okay, like we get it. But the gameplay is rock solid. It looks and plays great. I miss the crap out of Tomb Raider, and definitely recommend this to anybody who's kind of like feeling the lull. They don't have anything new to play. Rise of the Tomb Raider holds up, dude. Like you could tell me this game came out this year, and I would, for the most part, I think I would believe you. But yeah, some of the storytelling or the writing on it, as time goes on, I look at this and go, it's actually quite far away from what we would expect from like Uncharted and things like that.
No, and again, that's just always been a fault of the Tomb Raider games. They haven't, done amazing story stuff or anything like that. I as a longtime Tomb Raider fan of playing the early PC version games, I like the little nods and ties in together from that they do in the modern trilogy, tying back to the original games as well, and they do that a lot more in Shadow of the Tomb Raider in particular.
Yeah.
But for the most part, other than nods and stuff like that, like again, you're not really playing a lot of these games for the narrative.
No. I'll have more to say next week because I'm gonna keep playing this thing. I'm at the Soviet base is kind of like the big main part of it. So getting my weapons, killing some dudes, trying to be stealthy, blowing stuff up because I'm not very stealthy.
Of course.
Yeah. Good stuff.
As you do.
Yeah. How about you, man?
I played one game this week. Now, mind you, I played a lot of PS1 games this week because I'm getting capture footage for this other show that I'm working on, Greatness Begins, which premiered this week.
Yes.
Which is our PS1 show. So I've been playing a lot of PS1 games this week. But I did finish Elyuden Chronicle Rising. I talked about it on the show last week. That was that action RPG. It only takes about... And Kevin Ainsworth pointed this out last week, too. You can beat the game 100% in like 10 hours. So it's actually
20 hours for me. Okay.
RPG. But even if you go to how long to beat, it also is like in the 10-hour range too. So you never know, Sean. But it was a really fun game. It has its problems. It's not perfect. Again, the combat still kind of felt kind of janky towards the end, even though you did get a lot of like nice upgrades to your abilities and to the way combat works out because you get a bunch of different combos for your different characters. And I like the ability once you unlocked all three party members to have a little bit of variety because you have your main character, which basically like is dual wielding these like small pickaxes, and then you've got a kangaroo wielding a giant sword that can break rocks. I talked about him on the show last week, and then you eventually unlock this sorceress as well, who basically casts a bunch of spells and stuff like that. So I like the variety between the three different characters, and being able to switch to them instantaneously was a lot of fun. I just wish there was more meat on the bones with this one, and I wish they would have refined the combat and the the exploration a little bit more, especially because you're revisiting a lot of areas that you've been to before multiple times. Like there's this one area at the very beginning of the game called the Great Forest, which is like 4 or 5 levels deep. But then once you get through it, you'll then get a whole bunch of quests to then go back there. And then as you progress through the story a little bit, you'll get more quests to go back there. And that continues to happen throughout the entire experience. So if you don't like revisiting areas, for example, and kind of like going to new areas all the time, this is not the game for you. But I don't know, man. I actually had a good time with this one. Especially, it was good for like a really good budget title, because this is not a full price game or anything like that. And it's on Game Pass as well. So, you know, if you have a Game Pass account and you like action RPGs, I would definitely recommend checking it out. And I guess we're just more excited because for 100 Heroes, the full on like turn-based RPG that we're getting next year, that is kind of getting the AAA treatment essentially, because this kind of sets up the world and some of the characters that are going to be in that, and then the game that's coming out next year is going to be the full kind of fledged, you know, dive into that world essentially. So I liked it. I thought it was good.
Good for Game Pass.
Yeah, good for Game Pass.
Is that allowed to say? I don't know if that's a bad thing to say.
Yeah, I mean it's a good Game Pass pickup if you're on the fence about it, or again, even if you're on PlayStation or Nintendo Switch, you know, it's a cheap game. So I mean, you're not spending a lot, and I think you get your money's worth out of the 10 hours. And then there's a lot of optional stuff to do even after, you know, you finish the experience as well. So there's a lot of meat on the bones with this one. So definitely check it out. I recommend it. But anyways, let's slam the brakes on this conversation, Sean, because it's time for some breaking news. And we only have a couple news stories this week, but man, we got a really big one to start the show off. And we got to talk about this one. Because apparently, Sean, I don't know if you do this, but Xbox apparently is also a monopoly that has no games.
They got no games.
So Bethesda have announced that both Redfall and Starfield have officially been delayed until the first half of 2023. They basically took to Twitter about this and basically just posted an image saying, hey, by the way, these games are delayed till early next year, and we'll talk about them later, kind of thing. So we don't really have like any reasons why or anything like that for an actual hard release date for any of this stuff. So Sean, what was your initial reaction to this announcement?
So there's two things here. There's the Starfield and Redfall. I'm not surprised by Redfall, I'm not going to lie. I really wasn't ever expecting that to be this year. I think that's what they said, or maybe they came back and said it afterwards.
They had said summer 2022.
Yeah, I didn't buy that for a second.
And then the Brazil Xbox website had updated it to winter 2022 pretty recently. And then,
interesting.
Now we have the delay until 2023.
But is winter summer for Brazil? Is that the issue there? Is that a southern hemisphere kind of thing? So I think maybe we read too much into that. But Redfall is like, what have we seen? And for some reason, my mindset, it's the same thing, same situation for both games. In that Redfall, we saw some sort of like cinematic trailer, and for Starfield, we saw a cinematic trailer. Like we saw about the same amount. For whatever reason, I thought that was just part of the plan for Starfield. Like we would do the Fallout 4 thing, we would get some sort of big gameplay reveal, and then it's coming out in November, as they said. Also, they specify an actual date, so a little bit different for Starfield. Redfall, yeah. I'm not like hugely anticipating it, to be honest, so I'm not hugely heartbroken by it, and I really wasn't expecting it, so that's kind of like, that's my Redfall talk. My focus really is on Starfield here. I am blown away that this game isn't coming out. They showed their balls, man. They said the date is 11/11/22, and we're like, well, they don't say that unless that they're actually going to hit that thing. So pretty devastating on that front, especially compared with what else do they have, which I'm sure we'll get into. I don't know, man. I was personally really looking forward to this game. Not getting into like, what does this mean for Xbox or even fantasy? There's a whole other conversation there. I was personally just looking forward to like exploring space in a world or a universe, galaxy created by this team. So to hear this news, of course, I just want it to be great. All the cliche things we say with delays. But yeah, that's kind of like my overall thoughts. Like, what were your kind of first instincts when seeing the JPEG?
Yeah, like I was just like you. I was shocked with Starfield, especially with them being so confident in announcing the date. It's so far in advance too. Like it wasn't like they announced the date and then 2 weeks later they changed it. Like it was really, really like it was a year and a half in advance essentially is when they announced it.
Right.
So I figured that they were so confident that they could hit it that there's no way this game gets delayed unless there's like some kind of crazy emergency that requires it to get pushed. And maybe something happened behind the scenes. Maybe there is some trouble with its development. We don't really know the full story behind it, but to see it get delayed, I feel like that's the type of game that doesn't get delayed unless there's like unless there's something seriously that requires them to delay it beyond that.
I'm
But it's
glad
also
you brought that
possible,
up.
too. They just say first half of 2023. You know, this
February.
It's possible that this just comes out in January,
Yeah.
or February, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, at that account, that's what, a 2-month delay. So it's maybe not as serious as we thought. Like, something similar happened. I remember when BioShock Infinite was about to come out, and they had announced like a November release date, and then they had announced they're delaying the game indefinitely, and then 2 weeks later they came out and said it's actually coming in February. So
Oh, weird. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well,
think-
indefinitely just means there's no definite date. Like that happened with a couple other games. I
people
think,
were freaking out when they heard that.
wasn't that
So-
The Last of Us? Because people don't know what indefinitely means. That's
Last
why
of Us
people are
was like that
freaking
too.
out. Google it, damn it. I'm glad you mentioned the like, what does this mean in terms of like the severity, or where is it in terms of development and stuff like that? I just like the word, like, I think it could mean anything, as you would say. It really could be anything. But I really would like to think, as the fanboy that I am, Ryan Turford, is that maybe it's not that it's catastrophically bad. It's just not that it's 9 out of 10 great. And they're trying to take it from like 8.5 to 9, if that makes sense, to kind of make that analogy there. And I would say do that every single time. I think there's this notion that, you know, this is a sign that the game barely works or whatever else. I don't think that's the case. I don't think you even get to a point where you announce a date this time last year. If you were in that situation, I think you would know by then. But I do think that there's some extra polish, and we've seen this with Uncharted and with The Last of Us and games from Naughty Dog as well. I think this is hugely important for Game Pass, for the Xbox brand, and also we're just waiting to walk into a Bethesda game that is riddled with bugs, and I would imagine they're just trying to get rid of that reputation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, yeah, everything you said about, you know, the delay being, you know, needed and a good thing, I think is correct as well. Like, I think that this is the right move if the game needs it. And, you know, I'm really excited for Starfield when it does eventually come out next year. Although I do feel that bad a little bit for Court Lalonde, who picked it first overall.
I know. And
Carpool
Matt,
gaming pool, and he got counterpicked on it.
dude,
So.
Matt, he picked both. He actually picked Redfall as well. So I don't think he got counterpicked. But Matt called it. He said, Matt from the PlayStation Drive, he said that he didn't have a good feeling about this game. So kudos to him for that. I also wonder if maybe somebody at Xbox heard a rumor that maybe there's some like Horizon Forbidden West DLC happening in the first quarter of next year. So they're just moving Starfield to go squash all that.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, you know, this news, as well as we're taking this news, definitely the Xbox community has not really taken
It's
this
not
news very
good.
well.
Like, aside
And,
from everything I've said, it's not good. This is not like,
No.
it's just not good for Xbox, really. Like, I think we can be honest about that.
No, definitely. And I think, I wanted to transition a little bit and bring in Blaze Knight, who I think
Nice.
actually summed this up well in his question this week. And he asked, so many people are reviving the age-old rhetoric that Xbox has no games
Of course.
nonsense. Whatever happened to the no crunch delays are good for games crowd? Even Phil Spencer had to come out and make a statement about the delays and listening to consumer feedback. So do you think that this is outrage leads to the teams at Microsoft to consider crunching to meet deadlines in the future? Or do you think that means that we just stop seeing release date projections going public? So first of all, one thing I will say about this that we haven't touched on yet is that, you know, I've been in the camp for the longest time saying that I don't think Forza Motorsport is coming out this year.
Agreed.
I thought that was a next year game, but
Mm-hmm.
I think after something like this happens, like if there's a chance that game can come out this year without crazy crunch, they will make that game come out this year to have a game this fall. Because otherwise, I think they were banking on Starfield at least a little bit here.
Being
But that's
the
just
game.
way I'm looking at
I
it.
mean,
But-
maybe if we do an E3 predictions episode, maybe on Monday, we'll get into some of this
Yeah.
stuff as well. Yeah.
Definitely going to be predicting some of this stuff. But as far as to answer kind of Blaze Knight's question, I definitely think Microsoft's just going to stay the course. I don't see them really, you know, taking this feedback and consider crunching to meet deadlines in the future more than, you know, they might crunch already. Because, I mean, we all know that crunch is kind of a big issue in the industry. And, you know, every studio kind of does it, like even Microsoft studios, even though they just don't come on and say it. So I would assume that they're not going to do more crunch than they're doing now. I think they're going to kind of stay the course a little bit, but I do definitely see Blaze Knight's point in them maybe stopping release dates that far in advance and maybe just announcing them kind of when they're ready. But
It's
Sean, what do you think about
unnecessary.
this question?
The release dates that far in advance is unnecessary, but it seemed like even at the time, it seemed like they were trying to make a statement more than anything, more than even getting people hyped about the date. It's just like, this thing is ready and this is when it's coming out. Like, it seemed to get meta about. I think that's the take there. So what else was the question, though? I kind of got to sidetrack there. What
He
else
was
did you
asking about, do you think Xbox will, take this feedback and then maybe crunch more on games?
Crunch. So I think we're actually seeing maybe, hopefully this is actually true. I'm just going to take this as at the word that when we see delays, it is avoiding crunch. I don't know that to be the case. It could mean that it's just an extended period of crunch which I think that we've seen articles and opinions on that sort of thing. It could just mean instead of crunching from July until November, it's July through whatever, first quarter of 2023. Right. But I'm going to take it for the word that this is going to reduce crunch. And so what we're actually seeing here is a transition from short-term behavior, trying to crunch to get the thing out immediately, to longer-term behavior, which is reduce crunch, but dates getting missed and being unsure of how to do this. Because I feel like if they could have avoided crunch to begin with, they would have just avoided crunch. Right. So there's a learning that comes along with this. So if you're not counting on a crunch period of the last couple of months before a launch date, then something has to change. And part of like collateral damage on that is you're going to miss your dates. So I think that maybe we'll get back to a point in time where maybe there's a better way to plan out these projects and ship these games on time without the crunch. But there's a lot of lessons that have to be learned along the way. And Microsoft has shown us time and time again that they're playing a long game on this. So they can weather the storm, I guess. But this is definitely them activating that plan of they've got to be more long term than short term.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and again, just it's one of those things too where you're in a creative industry like making games. It's just like when you're making films and stuff like that too. Like, as much as we don't want to have crunch in a lot of these industries, it's very tough to make any large, big budget creative thing on a 9-to-5 work schedule every single week. It doesn't work that way. As someone who works in the entertainment industry, I can definitely tell you from what I work at my job, like it doesn't work.
Sometimes you got to do whatever it takes, but yeah,
sometimes with that, you got to do right.
People are right to call people out for saying like, I can't believe they delayed this game. It's like, you just said crunch is bad. Like, stop it. That's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I think you're right. I think their Xbox is playing the long game with this one, and
yeah,
I think like especially now that we know Starfield, I would assume for sure it's coming out next year. At this point, like it doesn't get delayed again. I don't think. Yeah. So, besides that, we'll probably get Hellblade or some other games from Microsoft next year. So I think like next year, even though this year is going to be kind of a little bit of a letdown for Xbox, I think next year in particular, like. I know that the rhetoric has been out there, like people
next year
will always be the year for Xbox, but I really truly believe 2023 will be a big year for Xbox.
Just like the Flames, just like Calgary Flames. 2022 is going to be a letdown, maybe next year.
I hate you so much.
You know what I'm saying?
But I'm going to bring another question as well that kind of pertains to this topic as well. This comes to us from the Muffin Mon, aka Kevin Ainsworth, who, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, Sean, was our Smash Brothers champion.
Yes.
Represented Carpool Gaming in a Smash Brothers tournament over the weekend. And he crushed it, man. He did an amazing job. So Kevin says, since the Starfield Redfall delay, I've been seeing this narrative among certain members of the community that Game Pass should be called Indie Pass and that the value isn't adding up. Do you think that this is a concern? And how are you feeling about the value of Game Pass lately? So I think it just depends on how you look at Game Pass. Because first of all, I think that the value of Game Pass, whenever we talk about Game Pass drops, and we're going to talk about one, in a few minutes as far as, the rest of this month, I think you're getting a lot of bang for your buck still for Game Pass, as long as you're okay with it being coming from third-party games. If you sign up for Game Pass for just first-party day-and-date exclusives, I think that's where the biggest issue is. And to be fair, like, I can't blame anyone for feeling that way because that's the crux of Microsoft's marketing, is that they're marketing Game Pass and be like, play the Xbox title, like Xbox first-party titles day and date with your Game Pass subscription. But if there aren't any coming out for a year, like we're probably going to see this year, Sean, like,
damn,
you can't really factor that into that. It really is on the back of the third parties. And again, to Kevin's point, a lot of indie titles as well. But I don't think it diminishes the value of Game Pass this year, but I do think it changes what you're going to get from Game Pass, because I also think that maybe this frees up money for Microsoft to maybe go out and nab a bigger bigger AAA third-party game, day and date for Game Pass later in the year.
It doesn't free up money at all. It actually makes them spend twice as much. They got extended development time on Starfield. Now they got to make up for it with extra dollars on whatever the heck else is going to come out that they can lock down. So it's definitely, it puts them in a challenging position on that front. I want to battle the notion of that it's indie Game Pass. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, indie darling. Mass Effect Andromeda, absolute indie darling. Like what is it, like Jedi Fallen Order? What are you guys even talking about? These are amazing games on this front. I will say on that to counter my own, because people are like, oh my gosh, what a fanboy. Yeah, I do think that when we go over, these are the games that are coming to Game Pass. I have been not stoked about it lately. However, we can't look at the entirety of Game Pass based on what comes out in May and what just started coming out in April. Like, there's a ton that has been coming out month after month after month, that there is still this collection of really good games on Game Pass. That doesn't change. And I feel like we simplified this conversation into things that sound like console wars for the sake of that, rather than open up the app and tell me that it's an indie Game Pass thing. There's lots of big, great games. And like, are you done Forza Horizon 5? I know you're done with that game, but that game is great and will be great for a long time. And people should be playing that no matter what. MLB The Show, great game. Sea of Thieves, still good. Battlefront, like, dude, I'm just like combing through this thing. It's a great service. I'm not gonna take anything away from it. But I want those from a podcaster standpoint and from somebody who likes hype. I would love for the next announcement they have for Game Pass to go like, yes, like that game, I'm stoked about that one. Even something like Evil Dead. I would have liked for Evil Dead to come out on Game Pass. That would have been maybe middling, but still something to get excited about, I think.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, it would have completed the trifecta, because like the three biggest games of the month would have been on Game Pass. And to be fair, we don't really have like a big game this month. But we would have had Trek to Yomi and Elyuden Chronicles and Evil Dead all on Game Pass.
Kind of proving the point, though. Like, I see where people are going with it, like, because they're reacting to maybe this month or last month as they were added, but they don't go away after a month. It's not like games with gold or PS Plus. Like, those games stay. Like, they're just announced at that time, and they join a group of other games. I get a little frustrated when people are so simple to make a point. You know what I'm saying? Like, think a little more than your silly argument.
I think you're asking too much of people, John.
I obviously am. Yeah, that much is clear.
But anyways, we should probably dive into some of the Game Pass games that are coming next month, or sorry, towards the end of the month, not next month. So pretty soon, and there's a lot of games here, so buckle in, Sean. So first off, lots of games out today. Her Story comes to PC. That's a great game. Definitely check it out if you've never played it before.
And on PC. Mm-hmm.
And on
keyboard.
PC only.
Mm-hmm.
Jurassic Park Evolution 2.
Yes!
Which was a big game last year, out on Game Pass today.
You liked it. You bought it.
I played it last year and really liked it. So
yeah.
If you like park building games, play Jurassic
and dinosaurs.
Evolution 2. Yeah, really good game. Little Witch of the Woods, which is in game preview, is out today, and then Umuragi Generation Special Edition out today as well. And then Sean, your time has come on May 19th. Farming Simulator 22.
Yes.
Comes to Game Pass. And on the same day, one of the games that I've been hearing a lot of rumblings about,
Floppy Night,
from Jace in particular from our community, Vampire Survivors comes to PC Game Pass on May 19th. That's a game that has like a really big cult following, Sean.
Interesting.
So that's one I haven't played it yet. I kind of want to check that one out because I want to see what all the hubbub's about. But then on May 24th, we're getting Floppy Nights, which is a game that I know Matt Sawinski is very excited about. Mm-hmm. And then Hard Space Shipbreaker is on PC as well the same day. And then on May 26th, we're getting a day and date third-party release in Sniper Elite 5. So it comes out that day, Game Pass that same day. And then on May 27th, we're getting Cricket 22 on PC. And then also a day and date release, Pac-Man Museum Plus, which was one of the only games that I was personally planning on buying this month. Just coming to Game Pass.
That's awesome. Do we know that? I don't think we knew that before. We knew the game was coming.
Announced it yesterday.
That's awesome. Yeah, we definitely talked about that. And I think if we go back to that when we talked about it, I'm like, I wish that was coming to Game Pass. That is awesome. Those kind of games should be like Paint. When you get Microsoft Windows, it should just come with the system. So if it comes with Game Pass, that's close enough.
Yeah, I mean, Pac-Man Museum was already a really promising looking collection of Pac-Man games. I was already very excited about it, and it's coming to Game Pass day one, so I don't have to worry about buying it.
Permanent install.
That's the second Bandai Namco day and date release we've gotten this year. We've also
Hey.
had that and Taiko Drum Master as well. So I think with their smaller games, I think we're going to seeing that a lot more.
I like it.
From Bandai Namco, which is awesome to see. Maybe one day, maybe we might get that One Piece game on Game Pass.
That'd be great.
That game looks really good too. So.
I thought you were going to suggest that we start a cricket club of some sort. Like let's get a little multiplayer community going with cricket. I don't know how to play it at all, but I'd learn.
Oh please, we're gonna rope Farmer Rybo in here. We're gonna do that with Farming Simulator.
Farming Simulator. Dude, I'm telling you, every time that game comes up, you guys owe it to yourself. Put a smile on your face. Look up Farming Simulator Esports. I'm telling you, it's a great time. You'll be hooked.
Well, to put a sad face on your face, Sean.
Aww.
The following games are leaving Game Pass
Aww.
on May 31st. EA Sports NHL 20, since we just got NHL 21 this week. Same with Farming Simulator 19 for the same reasons we just talked about. Knockout City is leaving Game
Oh, that
Pass.
sucks. That game's great.
Resident Evil 7 Biohazard is leaving Game Pass. By the way, there's a next-gen version of that game coming out at the end of this year. And I think that's why it's leaving Game Pass. So make sure to grab that now because it probably won't go on sale again when the next gen version comes out. That's a trend we've been seeing a lot from Capcom. And then Spellforce 3 Soul Harvest, Super Hot Mind Control Delete, and Yes, Your Grace. So if you want to play any of those games, play them now. They're there until the 31st of the month, or just grab them now while they're still on sale. But,
Kevin in the chat says Knockout City went free to play, so it's all good. Okay, great. I didn't realize that actually. So that is, thank you for the heads up. News too. That's awesome. That game is really, really good.
Thank you for the save, Kevin. And then last bit of news, Sean, speaking of free to play games, that's a nice segue, by the way. Fall Guys is officially going free to play, and it's officially coming to Xbox for the very first time on Xbox One and Series X and S on June 21st. That's exciting. I mean, we haven't played Fall Guys, Sean, in forever.
Bring it back.
We used to play it a lot when it came out on PlayStation Plus. But I'm excited about this. Do you think we jump back into Fall Guys?
We're jumping back in, most definitely. Yeah, I'm really excited. And also cross progression, I think I heard, and people are mad that it's there and not in like Apex and things like that, but I think that's a thing.
I think it is a thing because everything's going to be tied to your account with with Fall Guys. Yeah.
Yep. So bring it on over from PlayStation if that's where you've been playing before. But yeah, man, that game is super fun. Kevin's in the chat; he'll jump in. We'll do some community game nights with that.
They also even announced too that there's going to be some Game Pass perks as well, and we don't have all the details about that, but you will get some extra kudos and costumes and stuff.
Costumes, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Give me some Master Chief, and oh my goodness gracious.
Oh, I can't wait for that. But Sean, let's let some of our friends into the car with us. It's time for the carpool because we got one question this week that wasn't about the Bethesda stuff. This comes to us from Edward Varnell at That Retro Code, and he asked the question: do you think Microsoft has great music in their games? Or do you think that they should be recognized more for it? So, Sean, I'm saddened to say that I personally don't love the music in a lot of Microsoft first-party games. I mean, I like them in the context of the game themselves, but it's just one of those things where, like, I remember back in the day when Halo 1 and 2 came out, and as soon as I played those games and heard the music in those games, I'm like, I need to own these CDs, because, that was back when I was still buying
compact
CDs,
discs.
So I can listen to this music over and over again because this music's great. But I haven't really had that same feeling about modern Microsoft games. Like, for example, when Halo Infinite came out, I wasn't immediately rushing to Spotify to go listen to the soundtrack for Halo Infinite. Like, I really felt like the music in that game was really like either had older themes, which I was already excited were there, but then also it had a lot of atmospheric stuff that, again, is good in the context of the game itself, but like I'm not personally looking to listen to it on its own. And that's usually how I judge whether or not I'm really jiving with songs in games in particular. Because like a lot of RPGs, for example, with amazing music, I will go and listen to those soundtracks on repeat all the time, when I'm working or writing or reading. So I find that those are the songs that really stick with me from video games. Whereas I just don't feel that way about a lot of Microsoft first-party stuff. But Sean, am I completely wrong about this? What do you think?
Anytime we talk about first-party stuff, I get a little bit brain broken because I'm like, do I include Bethesda? Do I include some of these other like studios that they've kind of adopted along the way? Like, and you mentioned,
I didn't include any of the past Bethesda stuff. So
right.
Like Doom, for example, I love the Doom soundtrack.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Soundtracks. So I left those out because, again, but like if Starfield, for example, if that is amazing music, I would throw it under this umbrella.
Right. Okay. That's fair. Yeah. I mean, I think you're fair to say that. I don't think that there's really anything that compares to say like things like really any RPG, JRPG, like just always seem to have like these very wonderful and symphony kind of soundtracks to them. I will say though, like I think Gears of War is one that doesn't necessarily pop out as when you're going to listen to while you're working, but I do think that it's an impactful soundtrack, but it's just a little bit of a different criteria on that. I think Forza Horizon 3 and Forza Horizon 5 have awesome soundtracks to them, but again, the more licensed music to that extent, and Halo's Halo. So now I just did the classic, like, what does Xbox have? Forza, Gears, and Halo, and that's kind of it. Like, it's funny because it is a cliche and it's a stereotype, but it's like, what else do you want me to say? Like what other game should I like go to? Like Sea of Thieves, I guess probably has one, but I don't really play that. But yeah, definitely not a hallmark of Xbox games. It's not like I go to Xbox games for the music. But I'll be very curious to see what's in their new slate of experiences, because there's a whole bunch of different types of games. So hopefully part of that comes back with a focus on music.
That's my line of thinking. It's like I'm anticipating like more of the games coming out. Like I'm very excited to hear that, like, the Perfect Dark soundtrack, because I think they could do a lot of cool stuff with that. Like maybe, especially from the trailer too, because it almost sounds like it's got like this like 80s tone to it, which I'm really digging. So like I think like games like that are going to have some great music coming out, and then any of the Bethesda games going forward, I think are always usually have great music anyway. Yeah. So I think we can start lumping them in, especially when we get that announcement of the Quake remake, Sean. We'll probably be talking about the music in that game because, I mean, famously going back to Quake 1, where Trent Reznor did the music for that game.
Yes, Trent Reznor is just kind of doing everything, man. He did the Social Network soundtrack, the Facebook movie. Yeah, amazing.
He did. But anyway, Sean, I think that's going to do it for this week's show. But before we go, Sean, plugs go.
You can find me on Twitter and on Twitch at Sean Capri, Sean like Connor, Capri like the pants, and I buy the merch. The merch is good stuff, man. But that's all I got to say.
The only merch you don't want to buy is an Edmonton Oilers merch. You just buy
Damn, you snuck one in there at the end. Oh.
As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. You can find us on Twitter at Carpool Gaming, on youtube.com/Carpool Gaming, and on podcast services around the globe. So, for Sean Capri, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 241 of the Xbox Drive. Only 9 more episodes, but for 250. And we're out. Bye.
If you're listening to this live, then you haven't seen the game yet. But if you're listening on free feeds from podcast services around the globe, you'll be celebrating with me as the Edmonton Oilers have already beaten the Calgary Flames, and they're going to go down in 5 games. I predict it right here. Bye, 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 bye. What?
Greater than X.